Hi Year 8, so today you're going to be doing your spiced chicken wrap recipe. This is going to be your second cook for Year 8 Food Tech. So the things that you need for today's prac. So you're going to need a chopping board. Make sure you've got something underneath that doesn't slip. You're going to need a vegetable peeler. You're going to need your chef's knife. Maybe a serrated knife. You'll need a fry pan. Now for this, today I'm using an electric fry pan, but you can use your normal stove fry pan if you wanted to. You'll also need a small bowl for all your scraps, a bowl to do your marinating of your chicken, and then obviously a plate to put your wrap on at the end. So have all those out ready and then you can start. So the first thing I'm going to start with is the chicken. Now, I'm going to put my wrap aside. When you do your chicken, you're going to cook it in your fry pan. So what I do is I cut my chicken and I marinate it in the bowl with the oil. I don't add any oil to my pan because I don't want it obviously spitting and making a big mess. So if you're going to use an electric fry pan, it comes with a little attachment. You're going to do it on a medium heat around 180 to about 150 to 180. When you put it in the side here, make sure it's clean and you pushed it all the way in. Then you obviously plug your other end into the wall. Now I've plugged it in and turned it on at the wall, but I haven't turned the dial on yet. I don't want it heating up too early. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is prep my chicken. Now my chicken, I've got some chicken breast. When you get your big chicken breast here, you'll feel that you have to feel for any bones or cartilage left over from the butcher. First thing I'm going to get you do, see this tenderloin bit? It's that little flap. I'm going to get you to cut that off. So making sure your fingers are nowhere near, cut that little tenderloin off. Then I get you to turn your chicken on its, flat bit down. I'm going to put your palm on it flat and you're going to cut through it so it's nice and thin and even. So keeping your hand there so it doesn't move and jiggle, and you're going to put your knife through the middle and you are going to cut. Now I'm using my palm so it doesn't slide and move, just so it's safe for me using the knife. Now, for this recipe, it says 1 chicken breast, but because I'm going to do this for my family's lunch today, I'm going to use another chicken breast. You can see there's a bit of this cartilagey stuff. I'm going to cut that off. And there's another breast here for me to cut up. So again, check here for any bone. If you are worried, just chop that off and put that in the rubbish pile. Again, holding it firm so it doesn't move, cutting through the fattest part of the breast. Alright, so now I'm going to put that chicken all into my bowl so I can marinate it, coat it in seasoning, and then cook it in the fry pan. Okay, so I just gave my chopping board a wash and my knife a wash, just so I obviously don't cross-contaminate anything. I don't want you putting your fresh vegetables or anything on your chicken board, so go give it a clean. If you have an extra board, you can swap it. At school, obviously, we'd swap it and we'd go from our yellow board from our chicken to a green board for our veggies. So what you're going to do now is turn on your fry pan, preheat it. Now I'm turning it to 180 and I'm going to turn it down if I find that it's getting too hot. I'm going to add a tablespoon of oil and then I'm going to add some seasoning. Now your recipe says you can add wattle seed, Tasmanian pepper leaf. So if you've got bush tucker spices, so these kinds of spices, you can obviously use those. But if you don't have access to them, you can season it just in salt and pepper. You can season it in anything like a Moroccan seasoning, whatever you want, just to flavour your chicken. Now I've got a few of these that I've borrowed from school. So I'm going to use some lemon myrtle. So I don't contaminate the whole container with my, obviously, hands. I'm just going to put a teaspoon in here, scoop a little bit out. Now I'm going to add some salt. So I've just got some salt here. And see, I'm seasoning my chicken before I put it in my pan. And I'm going to put on some pepper. I forgot to say before you'd need tongs, but you're also going to need tongs. So you can do this part with your hands or your tongs. You're just going to toss your chicken all around your marinade. If you find it's not coating everywhere, get your hands in there. And then obviously wash your hands in between. So everything is seasoned and coated in some of the seasoning. Now my pan, I can feel the heat coming off it, so it's obviously preheating. Don't put your hand directly on it, you just hover over it and you can feel the warmth coming off it. You can see I've got my area around it quite clean. I don't want anything to melt or obviously get hot around the area. So once you're ready, you're going to put your chicken in the pan. My pan's nice and hot, you can hear that. Now I don't want to overcrowd my fry pan, so I've separated them, making sure they're not touching. Once they're white on the outside, I'm going to flip it and I'll keep cooking this chicken. So while that's sizzling, I'll just push it back a bit. I'm going to do some vegetable prep. Now, the vegetables that you've got on your recipe is some tomato and some lettuce. But if you don't have tomato or lettuce and you have some avocados you would like to use, or you've got some carrot you'd like to use, or some cucumber, whatever you want on your salady chicken wrap, you use that. Even if you want to throw some bacon on, you can do that. But if you're going to put cucumber on, tomato on, and lettuce on, you need to give it a wash first. Obviously the carrot not so much because you're going to peel that. So I'll just give these a wash in cold water. Obviously I want to wash them just in case they haven't been cleaned and they have any bugs or chemicals still on them from obviously when they were grown. Now I'm going to put all my prep just on a plate for now and just cut everything up. So first thing with my tomato, if you don't have a really sharp chef knife, you might want to use a serrated knife for a tomato, just so it's easier for you. But if you're nice and sharp, you're okay. So holding your tomato, using the claw hold it nice and firm and thinly slice it. Alright, so I'm just going to throw a bit at the end into my rubbish bowl and put this prep on a plate ready to put on my wraps. You can see my chicken's been cooking and you see some of it's white. Now I'm going to turn it if it's white, just so I know it's obviously getting cooked on that side. Next thing I'm going to chop is my cucumber. To make my life easier, I'm going to cut it through the middle and then have two flat sides. Then I'm just going to slice it on the angle. Now remember this is optional, you don't need this on your wrap. And put all my chops over there. Now remember, I'm doing the claw hold again. My fingers aren't going anywhere near that sharp part of the blade. And I'm trying to cut them all a very similar size. Because it's a wrap, you don't want it too big, chunky pieces on there. So, 1 mil to 2 mils, if that. Alright, for a carrot, make sure you peel it first. And I'm peeling it in my rubbish bowl. And obviously you can give that to the animals if you have animals. Or in your compost, whatever you have at home. Now they've got some options with your carrot. You can grate it using the big end of the grater. You can thinly slice it, so you can have little carrot sticks on there, and I'll show you how to do that. So you cut it into about 4 centimetre sticks. Do a flat side cut, so it's got a flat end so it doesn't move. Then do thin slices down. Obviously when you can't hold on to it and it's not safe anymore, you turn it again just so it's nice and safe for your fingers. And you see my knuckles are always touching the side of the knife here. They're never actually under it. So I'm always keeping my fingertips curled away. Alright, so my carrot sticks I've done about 1 mil thick. Then what I'm going to do is another little this way. So you're doing a julienne cut, it's called, which is a French term for thin little sticks. Now keep an eye on your chicken. Remember, you got to make sure it's cooked all the way through. Now my thinner ones, which are the ones on the side, are obviously going to be cooked a lot quicker than that big fat one, just because obviously he's a lot bigger. So obviously want to make sure that you can't see any heat still, which I still can here. So make sure it's still cooking. You can turn it again. Now, if you don't want to do julienne sticks, you can just grate your or peel your carrot and do long sticks that way. And this gives you some texture in your wrap. So remember, these are optional extra flavourings that you could add. If you're getting too close and you're worried about your fingers with peeling, obviously stop and then you can give that to the animals, but you can go further with that. So then you've got some nice long pearls you could use. Alright, you have the option with your cheese. I've got some sliced cheese here, but you can slice your own. You can use grated cheese. It's up to you what kind of cheese you use. So when you're doing it with some cheese on your wrap, you can cut them in half, maybe even quarters, just to make it fit on your wrap nicely. And there's more of your prep done. Alright, so now I'm going to feel my chicken and make sure it's all cooked. Now, feel it by touching it. If it's firm when you tap it, you know it's cooked. If it's still really spongy, like this one here, it's obviously not going to be cooked. So this one, it's not really spongy, so it's going to be done. Now, if you've cut all of your vegetable prep and you don't need to do any more, you can rest your chicken on your chopping board or grab a plate to put it on there and let it rest. Now, resting, what it does is it sucks all those juices back up, so you should let it rest for a few minutes, especially if you're cooking beef. Chicken, not so much, but we've got the time. So it's got room at the front of my fry pan here, so I'm going to cook the other bit of chicken because the 2 tenderloins are done. So now I'm going to put that in the other bowl in the wash up. I'm going to let that cook. Once it's done, I'll put it on the chopping board to let it rest. Then I'll slice it up and then assemble my wrap. Now the chicken's been cooking for a bit and this side is starting to get a bit white. You can see that on the edge there. I'm just going to feel these, and as you can see I can feel they're quite firm, so I'm taking these ones out and I'm going to let them rest on here. And then turn these while I'm up. This one is pretty much done, but obviously you always want to play it a little bit safe with chicken. So I'll give it another half a minute and then take that one out and let it rest. So now I'm going to take that chicken out. So while the chicken's been cooking, obviously I've done all my prep for my salad part, and I'm just cleaning up as I go, and I'm just putting away everything I don't need out anymore and getting ready to give these to the animals. Once this is all done and it's rested, you can start your washing up. Remember to fill your sink with hot soapy water. Wash your knife first, holding onto the handle. Don't just throw it in the sink. If you use your serrated knife because your tomatoes, you needed to cut them, you can obviously, if you're done with it, you can put it away. Now you just start washing up while the chicken keeps cooking. Going to let this bit cook because I'm just worried about that fatter part of the chicken. Once it's done, I'm going to soak my fry pan. Now if you've used this fry pan, an electric one, you obviously need to worry about the PowerPoint end. I don't want you putting that in water. Obviously the electrical cord, turn it off at the wall, pull it out, This part here doesn't go in water at all. This part here can. I try not to put the power socket bit in the water. I just wash it on the side. And while that's doing that, I'm just going to cut those chicken breasts up. Now when you cut the chicken breast up, it's going to be still quite warm. You can put a whole tenderloin on, or you can cut it in half. Obviously I'm going to cut up the things I've taken off first, just so it's easier on my fingers. And I'm going to cut it through the middle, not putting my fingers near the knife. So you can pinch it, put it down that way. This way you can check if anything's not cooked perfectly and quickly throw it back in the pan. If it's a bigger piece, I'm going to try and cut it in more than one piece, like in more than half, just so I've got more for my wraps. You can see it's all cooked. And I'm using the tongs to hold it just because it's still warm. I'm going to turn this off and let that rest for a bit, and then I'll cut it up and assemble my wraps. Alright, so my chicken that I took out a few minutes ago, I've let it rest. So while that was happening, I've done all my washing up. The only thing I haven't done is obviously the chopping board plates and the knife and my tongs. When you do wash up, make sure you do the fry pan as one of the last things, just in case it makes the water really dirty. And what you need to do is wash up everything before you enjoy your food and eat it. If you're going to use your dishwasher, please don't put your knife in the dishwasher, and maybe not your fry pans either. If you put your knife in the dishwasher, you're going to wreck your knife, and you'll realize you'll go through them a lot quicker because it bluntens the edge. Okay, so all my chicken is cut up. Now you can put it in a bowl, a plate, ready. All my vegetables are prepped. Now, the recipe card does just say tomato and lettuce, but because I'm feeding a few adults, tomato and lettuce isn't necessarily always enough, so you can put whatever you want on it. As I said, you can add bacon, you can add ham, whatever you want. And I couldn't get normal lettuce, so I got a bag of mixed lettuce, which you can put in there. You can give it a rinse before you use it. Now, depending on which wraps you buy, we bought the green wraps because they're my son's favourite, and these obviously feed an adult quite well, but you can buy the smaller wraps if you're feeding younger people, and that way there's no waste for them, and put less on there. All right, so I will assemble one, and then you guys can go make yours. So what I'm going to do, I'll put that down on my plate. Now, whatever order you do this, it's up to you. I'm going to put some lettuce down, and you can see I'm going to stack it in a row like I'm making sushi. So I only put it in one spot. A bit of kale, which is nice, a bit of crunch. I'm going to put some carrot down, and put some cucumber. Now, if I'm putting it in the one spot, it's easier for me to do the whole roll technique. Now, tomato, you can cut these in half again if you find the slices are too big. I'm just going to put 2 on, but I am going to add a bit of seasoning to my tomato. It just helps, but tomatoes add a bit of flavour. So just a bit of salt and a bit of pepper. You don't have to do that, that's optional. Then I'm going to put, remember how I cut my cheese in little slices? It makes sense now because it makes it that size for the wrap. Now, obviously, avocado, again, optional. Please don't go putting the knife through the seed. You can push the seeds up normally by just poking the bottom and picking it out. You can use your knife to cut through there and scrape, or a safer option is just using your spoon, scoop it all out, and obviously put it on the chopping board, and then you can slice it without hurting yourself, because I don't want anyone hurting themselves. And then I'll add some chicken. Now if you want to see, I've just got 2 thin slips on there. I don't need a lot of chicken on there. That's enough for 1 adult, or in your case, 1 teenager. Now if you'd like to season this with a dressing, you can put some mayonnaise on it, some barbecue sauce, whatever you want to add that bit of dressing. Now because I want to give this to my son, he loves mayonnaise, so I'll put some of the Japanese mayo on there. You can also do some sweet chili, whatever you like. So now all I'm going to do is roll it up, fold in half, and see it's sitting on the flat side. Using your serrated knife, just cutting it in the middle, and then you've finished your wrap. If you wanted to present it all fancy with some toothpicks, you can. That way, if you're worried about it falling apart for the person you're giving it to, you line it all up, put a toothpick in, then it won't move. But obviously, please tell them so they know there's a toothpick in there and they don't hurt themselves. And there we go. Here is your chicken wrap. Enjoy making that. Remember, do all your washing up first before you eat, and please remember year 8, please remember to make sure your sink is dry, there is no food or bubbles or soap or anything left in your sink once you're done. And enjoy. I look forward to seeing your photos and your videos of your chicken wraps.